As I said in previous videos, from the early 1970s until the 80s, all the birthing better skills that fathers and mothers developed focused on the coping, managing, working through, handling, dealing with, staying on top of, and feeling in control when we had the natural occurring pain of labor contractions. Because back then, 95% of us labored and had a vaginal birth. And nobody wants to suffer in childbirth. But then, as I said, we started to focus in the 80s on the pelvis because of long first and second stages and the fact that cesareans were easier to do. So we were more likely to have them. And so when we focused on the pelvis, we realized there were two parts of it. There was the bony pelvis and the soft tissue. So the bony pelvis is the tube that the object is coming through in your container, your body. If that tube is fixed, it cannot open up. So we had to learn as to what opened up. I mean, first of all, most of us just think of it as our pelvis is our pelvis. We think of our pubic bone as a pubic bone. We don't think, oh, well, there's a cartilage in the middle and there's a bone on each side. And where do those bones go? Well, they go up to the hip bone. So do they? And then they go around to the back, to the bump over the sacrum, And then we sit on the sit bones, which are all part of those big bones anyway, and we're thinking, oh, right. And then what's the pelvis? Is the pelvis just sit like this in space so the baby just comes straight down? Well, if it did, it would come down to our rectum. Our vagina is in front of our rectum. So if you look at a skeleton, the pelvis is tilted. It's just so hard to show on these. Okay, so the pelvis is tilted, right? Which means that the baby is coming down, is sort of sitting in us like that. But at birth, the baby has to come under that pubic bone to head towards the vagina, which means the pelvis has to then come forward for it to do that. It's a bit hard to explain without having a pelvis, and I don't have one where I am. So you're going to have to take a look somewhere else. So what we also wanted to know was, well, if the pelvis is made up of bones, and it is, one big hip bone over here and the sit bone down there, another big hip bone, what other bones? So the sacrum, that's at the end of the spine, that's under the bumps. Tailbone, does that have anything to do with it? But then you hear women say, oh, I broke my tailbone when I gave birth, so must have. Is my tailbone long or short? So what we did was first we wanted to find out what the space was that the baby was coming through. We can't find the inlet because it's on top of the pubic bone. We can't reach that far. We can feel the middle pelvis, but we have to do the internal work and feel that. You can feel it, but we can map the outlet. It's the bones you're sitting on. That's the pubic arch. That's the distance from your pubic bone to your tailbone. We can feel how long our tailbone is. We can feel whether our sacrum is curved or straight or wide or narrow or long or short. That's what the baby has to come through. And then, do any of those bones move? Yes, they do, right? And so in this lesson, that's all the skills. And this is what we suggest. If you're a pregnant woman, do this on the person who's going to be a birth coach. Because there's no mystery, we share the same body. And once they feel this in their body, they'll easily do it in your body because they know exactly what it feels like to have you do it on them, and they'll be able to do it on you. Help each other. Don't make them try to guess where your hip blade is. If they can't find it, just put their hand there. Put your hand on it, and they'll put their hand there. Help each other. If they can't find your sit bone, find it for them. My goodness, help each other. You're not suddenly moving into a passive client to a professional who knows everything. Part of becoming skilled is that we own the activity we are about to do, and that's why it's so important. So in this lesson, you're going to find out about your bony pelvis.